Welcome to the Hoopla podcast.
Hoopla!
Hoopla! Blitz!
Blitz!
That's right, folks.
Bing,
We
bing, bing,
nailed the
bing.
timing on that. We're here for an extra special, quick episode of the Hoopla podcast.
A slingshot of an episode?
The fastest weapon there is, a slingshot.
Yes.
To
The
talk
manual
about-
reloading single chamber weapon that works on a string.
I don't know. I was trying to tie it into Spider.
That was
Woman.
good, Jake. I
You
appreciate
tried.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. Unfortunately, Madam Web does not use a slingshot. She doesn't use any weapons other than vehicles. But we will discuss the
True.
newest Sony Spider-Man universe film, Madam Web, here today on the Hoopla podcast. It's going to be a quick one, though. There's a lot of stuff on the internet these days about what Madam Web is all about. How good is it? How bad is it? Everyone has opinions, and so we're going to share ours as well because we love doing that. I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful members of the Hoopla Crewpla, Andy Smith, Chris Pio, and this guy over here with a vision of the future, Jake Laxer.
Oh,
Hey.
Glad to be here. Sad to have watched that film.
Oh, hot takes. It's fun to see a super mentor in the MCU.
Oh, a
Super mentor. Quick factual correction for you, Jake, as well as perhaps a lot of the movie-going audience that does not realize that. This is not the MCU.
Sony Universe.
There you go.
Kinda.
That's gonna blend.
It's like
it's
MCU.
gonna blend. We all
Kinda.
know it's happening.
If you're about to call something MCU adjacent, then I disagree.
Okay. Well, at some
Is
point,
Tom
we all
Holland
know
in this
is-
universe?
This is doing this.
Boy, they're
number.
trying.
Oh, they are trying. It's doing this number right now, but they want this number.
One of these days, the strings of the MCU and the Sonyverse will get woven together in a beautiful web of cohesion. But until
Once
then,
Disney
we have-
purchases Sony, then it'll all come together.
That's our solution.
That's
Jamie,
the
would you
infinity
say that
gauntlet
this
of
this
franchises?
film connects them all?
Oh, I would say that this film is terrible.
Oh
This movie, so I'll just give my quick opinions of this movie. It's terrible. First off, I feel like most of the terribleness is coming from the studio side of things. This is just Sony making another terrible movie.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that writers, professional writers, would come up with this script for a movie, and the studio would pay somebody to write the script that got turned into this film. This has evidence of studio interference from every inch of this
Oh,
film.
yeah.
From all of the ADR dialogue, which,
Oh my gosh.
that
That was
usually
shocking.
in movies, you take the ADR dialogue and you put it when the actor's face is away from the camera, or you do it over B-reel or something. In this movie, they just did it when the actor was saying a different fucking line, and they were like, "Doesn't matter. He can mouth a different word, and we'll
There
just
were
have."
shocking
No one's going to be
moments-
sober
there-
during this movie.
There were a
Just put it in.
shocking amount of moments where they turned away from the actor's face, specifically with Ezekiel Sims. He looks a different way, and then they put some they narrate over top just because they needed to change some lines, maybe, or I don't know.
They
There was
changed
a
every line that he said. I think, like
Yeah.
at least 80% of his lines were
Jamie,
changed.
I'm going to combat you on something, though. I do believe that, yes, it was a studio issue. But if you look at the writing credits of the lead writer, we have Morbius, we have Dracula Untold, we have The Last Witch Hunter, and Gods of Egypt. Those are some of the, and I'm not trying to exaggerate here, but some critics have stated that these might be the worst writing credits for a
Say it with your
current
chest,
writer
Andrew.
today.
Yeah.
And with that being the case, this movie was set up to fail. Not even just the dialogue, which was not great. Not even just the progression of the story, which was confusing at times. The concept of this Madam Web film, I don't think worked and wasn't at the true spirit of the comic book character that they were portraying, which was my biggest issue. Now, I'm not going to say, I said this on my out of the theater reaction. This is not a bottom 5 superhero film, but it's definitely a bottom 5 villain. I mean, I feel like we can at least agree on that.
I think there are elements that are bottom 1. But Andrew,
Sure.
I like your point, and I'll take the studio interference point even a little bit farther. Set up to fail is one thing. You know, you didn't have the budget, you didn't have the time, you didn't pay your VFX artists, the actors weren't on schedule. That's a movie that's set up to fail. I might take it a step further and say, could this movie be designed to fail? With the intention of bringing in this writing team to purposely maybe make the Spider-Man franchise look bad? I mean, you see Sony first when you go to the theater, and then right after you see in association with Marvel. Jake, you yourself, I know you're smarter than this, and you probably knew that, not talking on pod, but you just said MCU. Are people thinking that this is an MCU movie? And if so, are they saying it's another clunker and that maybe it was purposely bad to, I don't know, devalue Spider-Man? That's a big psyop. That's a
conspiracy?
huge.
No, that's conspiracy.
Theory.
That's major conspiracy.
I agree.
Also,
That's
Sony makes all
outlandish.
their money
It's
off of
outlandish. It's
Spider-Verse.
unbased. There's absolutely no reason to believe that they would make a movie and hire these people and pay all that money just to have it fail. But it kind of seems like it was.
Well, I think it seems like that, Chris, because of all the elements that look like the making of what a bad movie. They knew they were making a bad movie. When the executives saw the dailies of the camera shots, the shots weren't great, right? Like there's a bunch of things that lined up to make it not a great film. But I will say I did like a few elements of this movie. But we can get into that in a second.
I want to ask Jake a question specifically because I know for sure Jake has a lot of negative things to say. So Jake, can you give us one positive thing about this movie, and then you can say all your negative stuff?
The one positive thing for this movie was the marketing. They did a great job at trying to make this look like it was going to be
a terrible marketing.
At best, a decent film.
Are you saying that the marketing was good because the marketing included superhero and action?
Yeah,
the marketing was different than the movie.
Correct. There was significant reference to superheroes. And we got about none of those.
Jake fucking hates vehicular manslaughter.
I want to be in the room when these top tier actresses, by the way. I mean, I don't think the casting was wrong in any bit. They did what they could. Dakota Johnson, unfortunately, just did not want to be there. I know she's been in great things. You've got other actress, Sydney Sweeney, obviously, is on.
I loved Adam Scott
rising star. Adam Scott, probably the best performance in this movie.
Correct. Ben
without really having anything to do with it. Celeste O'Connor, who plays Maddie, one of the three girls from one of my favorite movies from last year, A Good Person. Zach Braff directing. Was Morgan Freeman. She plays an excellent side character to Florence Pugh in that film. And so all these actresses are on the rise. I just think the big problem was motivation. I don't think anyone wanted to be there. I don't think there was motivation. I think
if you read that script and someone tells you, hey, you have to act these words, how could you possibly be motivated?
It's a good point.
So, Jake, I want to point out, you said it was a great marketing campaign because of the one trailer we got. Sony didn't believe in this movie so much they did not put out a second trailer to the movie.
That's because they ran out of superhero content. That's exactly why.
Beyond that, the last tweet from the Madam Web Twitter handle or X handle was 7 days before the movie actually released.
Oh God.
Wow.
My design to fail conspiracy doesn't sound so crazy anymore.
Well, I think they saw it and they were like, if we put it out, we don't say anything, it says Marvel, and we'll get enough people first week to pay for a little bit of it.
We might get some of our money back, and we'll get to hold on to that sweet, sweet license for all these Spider-Man characters. Because Sony just has to put out a movie every, 2 years or something to keep
to keep the
license to these Spider-Man characters. So
and
they
then,
don't
and
give a
if
shit
anyone
about making
says
money.
if anyone says that Sony's gonna give back the rights to Spider-Man,
absolutely
you're out
not.
of your mind. I
Oh,
know,
absolutely
I know
not.
nerds are really hoping that's never gonna happen. We
Never
have to
gonna
live
happen.
in this.
I think if the price was right, they would
I agree
sell
with
it
that.
back.
I think it's possible what happened is there were multiple resources at Sony's fingertips that they were able to use from Marvel through Disney. And those were all withdrawn at a certain moment in the making of this film, at some point in production. And as a result of that, Sony was like, shit, what can we do? Oh, we got a trailer. We have one trailer. Send the trailer. And then it's just been backpedaling. It's been backpedaling ever since. And perhaps this plays right to the point that Chris is making. Marvel could be trying to, really try and buy this one as a result of, really marking the importance of their influence over the Spider-Man films.
I've got a tinfoil hat. It's not very big, but it is on there.
You can just barely see it if you look very closely at Chris's head. Oh.
I think it's fair to think of conspiracy theories after a studio released that film for sure.
I want to talk about unbelievably bad.
I do want to talk about a few really key points I liked during the film, and I think a lot of them were in Act 1. I thought Act 1 was a fine opening for Cassie Webb's character.
Yeah.
I really liked the what are they called? The ambulance a driver.
Paramedics.
The paramedics. So thank you. I really liked her interaction with Ben Parker, even though, yes, he kind of disappears after that first act. I thought it was really interesting to see kind of how they start weaving in the premonitions or whatever they may be. That was a lot of fun. But as he got through the film, once the three girls showed up, this movie declined rapidly for me. I think
Absolutely.
Partially because of the dialogue, but I think really just overall the story just didn't work very well. What I would have liked a lot is if this was Cassie and Sydney Sweeney's characters' storyline. You didn't need all three of them, right? Like, make this more like it was just so convoluted. But I love the introduction to Cassie's character with Ben Parker, with the baby shower. I thought that was fun. It was cute.
I think the baby shower is when it starts to decline.
It was serviceable.
Who put in this blank slip into the thing instead of
Just
not
don't
putting
put
into
one
the
in.
slip?
What are you doing? No one knows you didn't put one in. Just don't put one in. What are you thinking?
So, I don't know if they intended it to be a joke or what, but that just was painful to watch.
First of all,
awkward.
Don't put it in.
Uncomfortable. It was even if that's what they were going for.
I don't even remember which one. I forgot about this. What happened here?
Poor Emma Roberts is sitting there with a pregnancy. I don't know. She could be pregnant. I'm not keeping tabs on Emma Roberts, who was just
should be
A-okay in this film. She's sitting there pulling out a blank piece of paper and saying, "Whose is this?"
Oh yeah.
Why? Just don't react. Obviously, there's nothing on there. God, and they just make it worse. Oh yeah, my mom died in childbirth. Ooh.
Yeah. But it doesn't happen that often, except sometimes it's really bad.
Yes.
Hey, ooh, your kid's gonna be great. Your kid's gonna be like me.
Andrew, I agree with your earlier point. I mean, even up to the part where she kind of gets her awakening powers, I think I wrote down, not a terrible origin story for a superhero. And I said, not a terrible is pretty good when you consider the rest of this film. I liked the slice of lifeness. I think she and Adam Scott had pretty good little chemistry at the start of the film.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm tired of the eating Chinese with chopsticks out of the containers trope. Granted, this is 2003, which they remind you of constantly for some reason. But that's one trope I'm hoping to get.
That is way too minor of a complaint. Not allowed. We're moving to jail.
But
speaking of pregnancy,
I have so many
and
things
I don't know if this was also meant to be a joke or what, but when we have Adam Scott, Ben Parker,
Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben, I know, isn't that great? He asks or tells
shoehorn Ben
Mary
Parker in there.
to get into the car or like go to the hospital. She's pregnant. Like, what kind of script writing is that? When I saw that, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this movie. I don't need to watch any more of it. This is unbelievable.
Did you walk out, Jake?
No, I didn't walk out.
Okay.
Physically, but mentally,
take
I
a quick
certainly
nap.
did.
Mentally, you
Checked
took a-
out.
Also, that when they go to the hospital, because her water breaks towards the end of the movie,
Yeah.
right before the big final fight scene with the bad guy, they have to go to the hospital. And of course, to protect the 3 girls, they have to go to the hospital too, instead of just staying in the house. If they're safe at the house with Ben there, why are they not safe at the house without Ben there? And then, if that's not dumb enough, hold on, if that's not dumb enough, they take the pregnant woman and shove her in the fucking back seat of a 2-door car. They pull the front seat forward and shove a woman who's actively giving birth into the back of a car.
Well, Jamie, you have to remember, how were they going to use the scene where the analyzed camera zooms in on a crystal clear image of one of the 3 girls if she's not in the front seat? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
That is
the year is
true.
2003. The cameras aren't that good. They can only see front seats at that level of detail, right?
That is very, very true.
I
forgot
mean,
about the CCTV.
These are the things you're forgetting, man.
I don't know,
Now,
Jamie.
I do have a question.
Oh, go ahead with your question, because we could take this so many different
So
places.
clairvoyance with Madam Web's abilities is if she dies, right? If she dies, then she resets. Is that kind of how I get?
No,
And
she doesn't have to die.
She doesn't have to die.
No, she
I think it's like
she
spurned
can
by
sometimes she doesn't die.
trauma.
Yeah.
She can
Okay.
connect in the future when she harnesses the power. She can connect to the web universe, which actually I did like the visuals for the web universe. And
that's not what I was going
Or
to
she
say.
could like float on over
yeah,
someone else.
where like because we've seen this thing before where a superhero has kind of connects into all these strings of time, and the way that they did it with the webs, it looked good. That's about it. That's all I can say.
I liked
Fine.
the visuals. I
visuals
did
were
not
fine in
like
some
that
ways.
as a plot point. She had to fly to Peru for a week. An hour and 20 minutes into the film, she just up and leaves. Her main charge is to protect these girls who have no idea what's going on. And she says, you know what? I know this maniac who has hacked the NSA is tracking us, but I got to skip out to Peru. I need answers. An hour and 20 minutes into the film. I feel like it was all shot out of order. Right?
Also, Chris, it was that sequence was really quick too, right?
Yeah.
You get to there's no. It was she leaves New Jersey, then you see the plane land in Peru. She goes to the forest, meets the guy, and then takes off, and then gets back to New Jersey.
She holds the picture up of the trees, and they have not grown at all in 30 years. She can match. That gave me, and I hate to say it, it gave me Star Wars vibes, where they're matching the dagger up for the Death Star. Oh God.
Okay.
Oh, that was terrible.
Why are you going to bring up Rise of Skywalker when we're talking about?
Because we're at that level of badness. Not that
yeah,
Rise of Skywalker is nearly that bad.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker is better than that. Come on.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, actually, I wanted.
But I
wanted
agree.
To mention,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jake. I just wanted to talk about my favorite scene. Okay, my favorite scene in the movie.
Is it a good scene that you're about to talk about?
I'm making a joke. It's not a great scene. Once she meets the girls, actually, I will tell you actually a good scene I did like. I did like her premonition, seeing the girls in the train, Ezekiel Sims coming through and one by one executing them, which is insane. I thought that was really fun. What happens after that? Why he crawls on why does he change into his suit and why does he crawl on the ceiling? And then why does he beat up the officers when they're sicked on Cassie anyways?
He could have just grabbed the girls.
That's
killed
not
7 officers instead of killing 4 girls.
That's not here
What?
nor there. What's better is when they get into the forest and these girls, first of all, just saw their lives flash before their eyes. They were almost murdered in a New York subway. She takes them to a forest. And an hour and a half later, they're like, I'm hungry. And I get it. I get it. Kids do dumb things. But they almost were killed an hour and a half earlier. So they proceed to go to the diner down the street and start dancing to Toxic on a boy's table when they're literally 6 hours. At this point, it's probably 4 hours. 4 hours ago, they were almost murdered. Like, that is an insane progression in a story.
Yeah.
And you can't just chalk these things up to, well, you know, where girls having fun, teenagers having fun, because that's what they did. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Cassie moms them from the taxi. You girls are so impulsive, as if she's known them to do impulsive things for the years that she's been raising them. I don't get it.
And then later
You're right.
in the movie, right before the final battle scene, they say, Cassie, we won't be impulsive. What are you fucking talking about?
Also, why do they have to say that? They can just like, you know,
they had to say
they had to say it.
lay everything out.
This
in
was
words.
a total build.
No
I mean,
subtext.
yeah.
I do like this idea of favorite scenes, though. Jake, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
I do have good things to say.
Favorite scene. I do enjoy the finale where they head to the fireworks warehouse, and the explosions in this building are just never ending for a series of fireworks.
That was entertaining for sure.
The classic firework building in Manhattan.
In
I
the
didn't have time
Pepsi,
to
in the
do
Pepsi manufacturing warehouse. You know?
Hey, did you guys know this movie was sponsored by Pepsi?
I saw Pepsi a lot.
Dakota Johnson spends 15 minutes of the entire runtime holding a can, almost opening it. Not opening it, mind you.
That's how they afforded the remainder of the film.
Pepsi sold that manufacturing
once the marble
warehouse
dropped out
to that fireworks company. Yeah,
Right.
It makes sense.
It must have been what it was. Also, I don't think...
Whoa.
Now, I don't have too much experience with fireworks. I'm not sure there's a firework out there that can directly missile into a brick wall and blow a human-sized hole in it.
You mean a 6 foot by 3 foot rectangular hole?
yeah. The things we were witnessing at the end were just absurd.
I mean, if we have to suspend our imagination, I guess in this movie, I'm okay suspending my imagination that those fireworks were overpowered as hell. Like that company.
Maybe they were
firework
stored
company.
there because they were dangerous. I don't know. That was never explained.
I guess I also have to comment on the fact. How did what's her name? How did Dakota Johnson, Cassandra Webb know exactly where to drive through the ambulance to end up in the middle of Times Square to hit the guy to perfectly land just beyond the car? Like the reason why I asked the clairvoyance question earlier.
Power.
Right. But how many
she saw
times
it.
did she murder her pregnant friend in the process of trying to figure this out?
Because she's
Yeah.
perfect.
No, she can just see it, right? She
I
just
will
she connects in.
I guess.
She sees the web of like the future.
What
There
she
doesn't-
does in that scene, though, is she saves her friends, and that grenade that was going to blow up the taxi, or Uncle Ben's car, I guess, rolls under a taxi, kills 4 other people.
yeah, that's exactly what through my mind. Yeah.
And she doesn't
What's the
reset that
point?
one. She doesn't
What's the
reset that
point?
one. She's just
No.
like, oh, that's casualties.
These 4
like
innocent
those-
people, they need to be alive. Those 4 innocent people. Oh, well.
Whatever. They're not. They were extras in the movie.
I want to talk
All
about
right, Chris, let's
quickly
get positive. Say something
the
good.
3 things that I liked. Two quick ones, and then a more expanded thing. Number 1, I do believe the funniest joke in this film is her trying to climb a wall.
Yes.
I actually think that was
And then she like slid down.
incredibly well staged. I think the timing was right. I think Dakota Johnson finally perked up. Maybe she had an extra espresso that day. And again, this is no,
or she's just like,
slight...
wow, this is as dumb as it can fucking get. Let's do it.
maybe it was, you know, one of the reshoots, or it was later on and she was just kind of tired and having fun with it. That joke actually landed. I really did enjoy that climbing the wall joke.
And getting the
10 out of
vertical
10
shot on that.
The vertical
just like
shot
we
was
get
great.
In the very first Spider-Man movie, the first time we ever see him climb the wall. The exact same shot. That was great. I will say the funniest part of the movie was not that. It was when she gets on the second train and the same dude from before is like, oh, yeah. Am I on the right train? And she's like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't in the script. That
movie.
Just happened in New York while they were filming. And she was really saying, I don't know, man. The second thing I like, Jake, to your point, the fireworks scene was very chaotic, but the last act where she is actually predicting things and she picks up that piece of shrapnel and uses it as a shield. Why didn't we have that 10 more times? That was actually cool and kind of seemed like a superhero. And she had her moment of this clairvoyance being used for good. I thought that was a great sequence, and they used it for maybe 20 seconds. The rest of it was just all of them dangling there and hoping that they don't get murdered by this superhero. By the way, how did he lose? Way to blow a 4-1 lead. I don't, whatever. The thing I do want to talk about.
We're holding for the villain because we have a lot to say on the villain. Or maybe
we're
not
running
much
out
at
of
all.
time on our Hoopla Blitz.
We are running out of time. We're fighting for real estate here. I'll be quick with my expounded point. I thought the through line of her kind of like, it never really explains why she doesn't like kids. I guess she didn't really have the maternal instinct with her mother being gone, whatever. But it's very clear that she doesn't like kids. But I did like how they brought that back with the CPR training in relevance to the fact that it can stop the poison,
That was cool.
just in case they were to get into danger. And then, of course, at the end where they use CPR to bring her back was actually a very cool message, awesome context. And that was maybe the bright spot of the film, was that they tied those two things together and it really worked. Not a lot else did.
I agree, though, Chris. I think, like I said, the EMT portions of this film and how that being a through line could have made for a better baseline for a better movie, right?
Yeah.
Like in my, like I had said, I think there's an okay movie in this somewhere if the writing, maybe even some of the concepts with the different girls, if they like shrunk it down to make it understandable. Like there is an interesting story with Cassie Webb, and I actually liked Dakota Johnson. Like I think she's a great actress.
She didn't like this movie.
And you know, she fired her agent right when the trailer came out and moved to a different agency.
Way.
Well, there are rumors that she fired her agent and the team because she thought she was going to be in an MCU project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
But
Whoopsies,
hey,
indeed.
we got to with this last portion of the Blitz, we got to talk about the villain.
Well,
Jake, unless you have something.
I do agree that there could have been a good movie made out of this. I think it's an interesting concept for
cool.
To have this clairvoyant superhero who's just trying to save the day against a boring villain, whatever. The main issue with it is that, of course, the writing is terrible. They didn't make anything happen within the story. They just told you what was happening every time.
Yeah.
None of these characters had any character development. They just said a different line to tell you that they have character development. Like the one I mentioned before. We're not impulsive anymore, Miss Cassie. Or,
we did it.
Mom, I don't hate you anymore because now I understand. Like, you don't have to say those things. Make the characters do those things. And I think a lot of the plot points that they hit actually would make for a good story. I don't think the plot of this movie was necessarily terrible. There's a lot of plot holes, and the connecting points that take you from plot point to plot point were very, very poorly written. Sometimes
100%.
just not
And
written at
edited.
all. You just jump
Yeah.
from one scene to the next, and they're like, oh, I guess we're here now. I do think you could have made a good movie out of this, and they didn't. So let's talk about Mr. whatever the fuck his name is, the bad guy.
Ezekiel Sims.
Oh yeah, cool outfit though.
Cool outfit.
Okay,
I don't know. I
understood.
really never got to see it.
Rich, I guess.
Anytime he was on screen, it was either upside down or in the dark.
I just felt like his intentions were just so
they didn't make
poorly
sense.
founded. Yeah,
They didn't make sense.
yeah. Like he has this premonition of him dying, and so now he has to kill people like 20 years in the prior to that incident.
Yeah.
No,
So-
there's no
So
like.
I like the idea of there being a serial killer superhero, and that's what they were kind of like alluding to. But he was really just like a dapper, I'm evil now.
See, I wasn't thinking of it as a serial killer. I was thinking if they were more of going for the idea of you try to avoid your fate, and you are the one that causes that fate to come to pass. And
Right,
you know,
yeah.
by him trying to kill these girls is the reason that they become Spider Women. But
Right.
that doesn't happen.
But
So
he could have
if you
just
want to
left.
go with that route,
There,
then you have to end the movie with them becoming Spider Women because
Right.
of him.
Yeah.
Right.
And they missed.
Jamie, don't worry. They do. We just don't get to see any of it. All Madam
all off-screen, baby.
Only person that gets to see it is Madam Web because she's seeing things more clearly than ever.
That makes sense to me.
You know who
Yeah.
had fun watching this movie? Was Cassie Webb because she actually got to see all the things we wanted to see.
well, there you go.
Deep. That
Actually,
hits deep.
one quick question: the NSA agent, or not the NSA agent? I guess the girl that
yeah.
hacks into the NSA network. Why did they? Okay, I get it. They want Peter Parker to be the baby and Ben Parker to be an uncle that's, you know, he's not a dad, but he's the fun uncle.
Can't stop shaking my head.
I get that they wanted that so they could have Spider-Man in this somewhere. But why did they do 2003? And why was like the NSA thing was just like a weird MacGuffin to
Yeah.
be able to have an Oracle type character to
Right.
say that sees, oh, we see them on here, here, and here. And then he keeps telling her how he's going to kill her. And then what happens to her character? I actually don't recall. Do they show her after he dies?
She inherits all of his wealth.
That's just, I get that Sony wants this Spider-Man less spider universe, but at what point do you just say, let's just put more money towards the Spider-Man No Way Home made Sony so much money. Like, why do we have Kraven upcoming? Kraven's just another villain. Why do we have Venom 1, Venom 2?
Because
This
he's gonna
leads me
drink
to a
so
good
much
point.
Mountain Dew, dude.
This
He's gonna have
this leads me
after
to
this
a
film,
good point.
I'm so looking forward to Venom 3. Go,
And-
Jake.
So yeah, this leads me to a great point. So I know we don't usually like to bring up other ratings when we're talking on the Hoopla podcast, but I think it is noteworthy. Venom in 2018, 6.6 out of 10. Let There Be Carnage in 2021, 5.9. Morbius in 2022, 5.2. Madam Web 2024, 3.8. I
Oh.
mean,
Wow.
what are
Yeah,
what are
well,
we
there you go.
going for here, Sony? I mean, we just keep nosediving in the hope that somehow we're gonna just make this work in some miraculous fashion. I don't get the
Chris
point.
might be onto something.
Why make it work
I-
when you can just sell it back, baby?
Well, okay, no. Well, that's not how that works. You
That's,
gotta-
I don't,
you
I don't
sell
like
it
that.
for
But I
more.
do think that they got so much money from Pepsi for this movie. It cost them like $100 million to make the movie or something like that. Maybe
and
$200
Nikon.
million with
Did you guys notice the
advertising.
camera at the start was a Nikon? It said Nikon
yeah, it
on
did
it. Did
say
you notice it said
Nikon.
Nikon?
Sony probably only spent $20 million on this movie because they brought in all the advertising bullshit. So they may have actually made a little bit of money through this process.
Actually, that's a good question. I want to know what this Madam Web budget was. Not that we really need to
and
dive
while
into
Andy looks
this.
that up, let's end this episode of the Hoopla Blitz
It's time.
with rapid fire, one final thought, and a rating out of, I don't give a shit. Make up a number. Jake?
4.2.
Okay.
Do it out of 8 because it's a spider. Did you guys know it was
like-
spider?
Oh, like
legs?
the legs?
Yeah, like 8 legs and a spider.
You
You know that
Did you
badass
know?
costume that was
3.5.
only in a flashback vision that we didn't get to see?
You got
So
wait,
cool.
Did you just give it a 3.5 out of 8? Oh,
That's correct.
That's pretty high. That's nice, Jake.
Oh,
Damn.
Who's
yeah,
turn next?
3.3.
He's
3.3.
doing math. Massive change.
We can
Thank
do it out
God
of
you
10.
did
I
that
don't care.
math. Chris, out of 8, what'd you think?
I just want to bring up our sponsor, American Idol. This movie released in 2024, but they were advertising American Idol in 2003. But now
That's
that
true.
Idol is back, it's the first ever instance of retroactive product placement that I have ever experienced. And for that, I give the movie a perfect 8 out of 8. This film is not good. Nobody wanted to be here. My conspiracy is outlandish, but I think if we see another clunker like this from Sony, I might be onto something. I'm going to give this movie a 1.5 out of 8. I think there is a shell here where you could change a couple of things. If you put the exposition about her mom not just going to the Amazon because she hates having a baby, but if you put the doctor scene that you only see in the flashback at the start of the film, and we follow her mother, Constance, for the first 10 minutes, I think it sets up the story a lot more clearly. But that one change does not make it a good film. And for this, it's a 1.5 out of 8. It's just not good. I laughed a couple times. It's got some humor, but really everything is just not good.
Agreed. Andy?
So everyone was, I shouldn't say everyone, the nerd community was up in arms when Warner Brothers canceled Batgirl. And Warner Brothers stated that it did not live up to their brand. And would Sony have been in a better place to, instead of pushing this into theaters to recover $20 million out of the $80 million budget by cutting this movie and not releasing it? I could potentially agree with that argument. I don't like how the movie was structured overall. I really like Cassandra Webb's character, and I think you can do a lot with her character. And we didn't even talk about the ending to the last scene was abysmal. And I think her glasses that they tried to make look like the comic
2003 glasses, okay.
And it looked like a movie that would have come out, a superhero movie in 2003.
Yes.
Or late 90s or something like that. It seemed like a CW show that
that's what they were going
was
for.
a CW written TV show that they pushed into a 2-hour runtime.
CW
It just didn't play. So I'm hoping I would be fine with seeing Madam Web's character come back later on and maybe Venom or something.
Oh, I want a
like
sequel.
her. I like her character, but if there's not going to be a sequel. But if
I
they came
want
up
a
with
sequel.
a sequel, I would just you gotta move on.
I'm demanding a sequel. You know why? Because we never got an actual movie.
Well,
We got the
we-
first
That's true. That's true. Anyways,
Out of
I'm
8,
gonna-
Andy.
Out of 8, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 8. Actually,
All right.
yeah, 3 out of 8. I really like the first act.
All right. And Jake, you kind of got snubbed on the reviews there because I said rapid fire and you went rapid fire, but the other guys
Yeah,
just
sorry.
ignored my ass.
Well,
So
that's
Jake,
fine.
the floor is yours if you want to give us some final thoughts.
Nope. 3.3.
Hoopla!
Hoopla, indeed.
I'll give it a, I don't know, 1.6.
Think you're better than me?
Maybe, I don't know.
You got
There's-
Point
like a
one in more
25%.
enjoyment out of this film.
Almost
I don't know where
20%.
you found it.
Sure, maybe, I don't know. There was potential there. The
There was
1.6
potential.
is all 1.5 of that is all from potential.
Here.
And the 0.1 is from the one time that I was like, they made a joke.
You know what? I will say something. I fell asleep during this movie and missed nothing.
Thank you for joining us for the Hoopla podcast. Tune in again next week when we talk about other stuff.
Clip it.
Bye.
Hoopla BLITZ.